The BART schedule is fully changing tomorrow, and they've put a lot of effort into advertising these new changes. But I want to take a bit of a closer look. What exactly is changing? Which aspects of the change do I think are good, and which ones fall a little bit short of my expectations? Let's get started with a simple question though. Why do transit agencies change their schedules so often? If there is a single mathematically optimal schedule that reduces wait times across the board, then shouldn't we have just gone with that schedule from the very beginning? Well, the definition of optimal can also change over time based on things like seasonal ridership trends and availability of drivers, and maybe in some cases address budget limitations. However, the changes on this current BART schedule update are promised to be cost neutral, which I guess means we're going to stay amount of trains as before. Let's start with the real flagship change on the BART system, which is Daly City. This is a station that is quite important on the BART network and sees just over 10,000 entries and exits on a typical weekday. A good chunk of those stats are due to its bus connections. It's at the south end of the 14R and 28R, two of Muni's busiest lines, and at the north end of the ECR, the backbone of Samtrans and a song by Violet Pony. The fact that it's right next to Interstate 280 means that I think it would be a good stop for longer distance buses, but that's a topic for another time. The station also marks the point where the green and blue lines terminate and the red and yellow lines continue south. Most people switch between these two sets of lines at Balboa Park, which is more natural in the southbound direction, but I'm sure a few transfers in the northbound direction happen here at Daly City too. The station is about to change though, and for the better in my opinion. Currently, Daly City's 3 platforms are laid out like this. Platform 1 is for northbound through running trains on the red and yellow lines through San Francisco. Platform 2 is for green and blue trains to terminate and turn back, and Platform 3 is for southbound red and yellow trains towards Millbrae and San Francisco Airport. As of tomorrow, Platforms 2 and 3 will swap. Now, terminating green and blue trains will call at Platform 3, go towards the yard, and wait just before their next scheduled departure time, where they re-enter service on Platform 1. From a passenger flow perspective, this means that Daly City is effectively a single island platform for entering passengers, which reduces confusion with signage and wayfinding. But the real benefit is operationally, because currently when a green or blue train terminates on the middle track, it only has a few minutes to get cleaned and be turned around, but then it has to merge onto the track of the other northbound platform for red and yellow trains, which, if those are running a bit late, the green or blue train might miss its slot, and that can cascade into further delays. Also, for a train coming into that platform, if it's already occupied by, say, a green train, and then a blue train comes in, it's going to have to wait, which will create a backup of trains, even red and yellow ones, coming in from towards San Francisco as well. So this solution will effectively see trains terminate on track 3, which will be exit only, and then I'm not sure exactly where the trains will go, but my suspicion is that they will go down just before the tracks into the Colma yard, and then use the switches to go on the northbound M2 track, and just the perfect amount of time between red and yellow departures. This does mean that this entire movement still has conflict points, but they are fewer conflict points than the original layout, which should make trains faster. Green Line trains are scheduled to leave the Daly City platform at minute 4, 24, and 44, and then turn back to San Francisco at minute 0, 20, and 40, which means they'll have 16 minutes to do this. That's not too bad. It's a little bit tighter for blue trains, where they should leave Daly City at minutes 16, 36, and 56, and then re-enter service at minute 8, 28, and 48. That's a total turnaround time of 12 minutes. But yeah, this is a very promising change, and one that I'm surprised wasn't thought about before. I do think it will make the system more efficient, even if it's not very glamorous. BART have also fixed transfers at MacArthur and Bayfair that were out of sync. Bayfair critically, because there was one that was just a near miss, but now in all directions, if you're coming from Dublin going down towards Berryessa, or the other way around coming up from Berryessa going towards Dublin, it will always be a 1-minute wait, as long as you take the orange train in the northbound direction, because if you take the green train, then you've missed it. If you notice, the green and orange trains are very close to each other, but we'll come back to that later because I do have thoughts on it. Another sort of promising development is the spacing of trains towards San Francisco Airport and Millbrae, but I do think there is unfortunately one very minor fail in its implementation. The thought is that trains can often come to San Francisco Airport and turn back, but you don't really know which train is going first. I think the problem there is not really with scheduling, but it's that the next train screens don't consistently show the ETD on them. Sometimes only when the train is about to leave, then it pops up. So you will still have cases where there are two trains on the platform, but you may not immediately know which one is going first. That can only be fixed with better signage, I think. But here is what happens on weekdays. So the red line train going towards Millbrae pulls into San Francisco Airport at minute 1 and then leaves at minute 4 when a yellow train from Pittsburgh is just arriving in. So that's a 1 minute near miss, which I think could have probably been fixed a little bit because that would kind of make the effective Millbrae frequency higher. Like, you would have missed that train within San Francisco anyway, but while it waits at San Francisco Airport for a few minutes, you could be able to catch it. But this 1 minute near miss means you can't, so you're effectively not saving anything by going on an earlier train. I think that's a bit of a letdown, but it's not the end of the world. Or is it? We'll come back to that. But yeah, there is one instance where there are two trains on the platform. Between minutes 15 and 17, there is a red and yellow train at the same time. However, the yellow train only leaves 3 minutes after the red train, so maybe it's not that bad. But yeah, let's talk about Millbrae because I know a lot of BART fans and regular riders get quite annoyed at how poorly Millbrae is served by BART. There's this situation where Millbrae only gets trains every 20 minutes, which is 3 an hour, but Caltrain runs 2 an hour off-peak and 4 an hour at peak, which means that no time of day is a perfect catch possible, where every BART train and every Caltrain train are perfectly synced. This means if you're just focusing on the two local trains an hour on Caltrain, there's guaranteed to be at least one wait an hour that is longer than 10 minutes, which again is not the end of the world, but there are some very narrow near misses at peak hours, such as, for example, the minute 33 northbound limited train that misses a BART train by just 2 minutes, and the southbound limited train at minute 7 of the hour that misses a BART train by just 1 minute. And yeah, this is going to be an unsolvable problem, but I do wonder if Caltrain maybe could have weighed in a little bit more, and maybe they would have had to change their schedule a little bit. However, from what I understand, their trains are also very promptly timed to office commuters, which I understand, but again, maybe a few minutes, maybe making them a few minutes earlier would have been worth it if it means catching BART trains more regularly. There is the argument that Caltrain should increase frequency to 3 local trains an hour if they can, so that every local Caltrain matches every BART train. But then the consequence of that is that the express and limited trains are both going to be screwed. So yeah, it's an unavoidable problem unless BART are the ones to improve their frequency, which they really do not want to do for some reason. But yeah, let's go back to the green and orange lines, because every time in the past few years BART have changed their schedules, I've joked that there's always one very bad thing. And that's kind of an unavoidable problem when frequencies have to be very low, time transfers are thus more valuable, and every line is interlined with every other line. So you're always going to have situations where things don't work out, unless frequency is improved and BART gets more budget, but we know that's not happening. So yeah, the one very bad thing in this schedule is the spacing between green and orange line trains that share track between Lake Merritt and Berryessa. The green line going south is much more used than the orange line because it serves the flows from San Francisco. But because of the way the southbound trains are laid out, if someone's doing a local trip between stations from Lake Merritt to Berryessa, then they are much more likely to show up at the station if they come at a random time, where the next train that will serve them is the green one, not the orange one, which means the trains that are already busier could become even more busy just by schedule construction. I don't think this is a very pressing issue because I don't imagine the green line is usually standing room only, and they can lengthen to 8 cars, which they seem like they are doing anyway. Plus, the orange trains are getting shortened to 5 cars at most times as well, which makes sense. It's the least used BART line, even if it does offer some travel hacks, especially for people living in Berkeley and Richmond. The northbound direction, though, I think is more interesting. Ever since 2024, there's been this weird quirk of traveling from Berryessa towards San Francisco, where the only direct train is the green line, but if the orange line was showing up earlier, you could take that up to Bayfair, then get onto the Blue Line, and you'd get to San Francisco a little bit faster. But they swapped the order of the orange and blue trains because of large flows from Dublin to Richmond, presumably, which now means that taking the orange train is actually useless because your next train to San Francisco from Bayfair would still be the green train that you probably would have wanted to wait for back at, say, Fremont or Union City or wherever you're coming from. The fix that BART Trip Planner suggested was to go on the orange line up to 12th Street, Oakland, then go downstairs to the yellow line and take that to San Francisco, which would overtake the green train behind it. But that's not going to happen anymore because the green train is so close to the orange train that even if you did take the orange line to 12th Street and get the next yellow or red train, the green train would have made it to West Oakland by then. So maybe they don't want people to do that transfer anymore because it does require, going downstairs, and there's only one elevator in the entire station, which is at the very back, so it's not the most accessible transfer. Point is, they've once again tried to solve the problem by schedule design, and I think maybe they weren't thinking of this consciously, but it is something that I noticed, and maybe regular BART riders to San Francisco from sort of Fremont, Berryessa, etc. would have noticed that too. So yeah, the 12th Street reverse transfer is probably killed, at least during daytime hours. So yeah, those are my long, rambly thoughts about the new BART schedule. I know you missed me. I do think, I mentioned I don't want to do Bay Area videos anymore because I don't think I'd be an authentic voice, but, maybe once in a while I'll just get behind the mic and yap a little bit. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I guess I'll see you next time when I talk about running mainline trains as the Geary subway. Maybe?